Hello, everyone, and welcome to Is This About Business? My name is Mike Leva-Doherty, and I am your host.
Hi, and my name is Frankie Leva-Doherty, and I am your other host.
Today, we are joined by Dion Siluch, who is the owner of MTC Rentals. Thank you for joining us.
Great. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Do you want to tell us just a little bit about how, kind of like your background and how you came to be in the position that you're in and starting your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, my entrepreneurial journey actually starts really early in my life, and I didn't know I had an entrepreneurial itch until I kind of rediscovered it back in my 20s. So, I guess the very first time I ever got into business or entrepreneurship was playing video games. So I would play games like RuneScape or World of Warcraft growing up, and I instead of playing the game, I spent a lot of my time kind of trying to break the game. And I would try and create like I would try corner like auction house markets to try make more money, or I would start up like a gambling casino in the game and trade people, and like just the odds would make them lose, and so I would just end up with these like massive stacks of gold because people loved gambling. I did like I would start up my own private servers and invite people to them so that I could like try and charge them money, like
Right.
um which was against the terms of service. All of it was you're not allowed to do any of these things in video games. And so it became like I didn't know at the time, but that actually is just me tinkering. That's me
Mhm.
figuring out what I like, and it turned out the competitive side of the game within the bounds of the box was not the interesting part of the game to me. The game was half the fun was trying to break the game and get outside of the box. So it became this constant thing of me wanting to do that. Yeah, that is like the start of who I am and kind of my nature, right? But growing up, we're all told go to school, get a job, get good grades, buy a house, just do the regular stuff, invest in RSPs or 401ks,
Mhm.
and that's it. That's how you live your life, right?
Right.
Um, uh, and I bought that concept. That was the only thing I was taught, and that's what I followed. And so, out of high school, I went and became a paramedic. I went to the paramedic academy and got my license to work as a public servant for 911, working for a British Columbia ambulance service. So up in Canada, I don't know, it's ambulance services are pretty much the same everywhere. Um, and yeah, I did that for a number of years. Maybe I think I had my license for about 5 years, but I worked as a paramedic for doing 911 calls. I think 3 or 4 years. And when I was doing that, I was working for 911, and then I would also go and do some oil rig work, right? So I'd do some in the middle of nowhere, northern Alberta oil rig, drilling rig, paramedic jobs. So every job site in Canada has to have a paramedic on site, especially for remote work, in case someone gets injured.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
And so I was out there, and I I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Hmm.
Okay.
and
Yes.
it have you guys heard of Rich Dad Poor Dad? I'm
Yeah.
assuming you
Yeah.
have.
I'm actually going through the audiobook now.
Right. Yeah. Um, at this time now I'm 21 years old. I've been in my career for a couple of years, paramedic, and I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it's like, yeah, you don't need to work for money. You can earn passive income. And I was like, what the hell is passive income? Like, what do you mean? I thought there was one kind of income, and that's earned
Right.
income. That's your
Mhm.
job, right?
Right.
And I was like, wow, like I've never heard this concept before. So I started reading more books on business, and it turned out business was very interesting to me. Maybe I had a natural tendency for it. Maybe I understood it quicker than other people, but like as soon as I heard it, it clicked. And I said, wow, that's fascinating. I really like this concept. And unbeknownst to me, I didn't actually know this would happen, but at the time I owned my own 4x4 ambulance, and I was contracting out to oil rigs in northern Alberta. And the light bulb hit when I had to, well, I wanted to travel Europe for 1 month. I wanted to backpack Europe. And for anyone who's done backpacking, it's super fun. You load up one backpack, you head overseas, and you spend a month just dilly dally. Who knows where you're going to end up, what you're going to do? It doesn't matter. So I said, you know what? I want to go on a backpacking trip through Europe. I've watched tons of movies, how fun it is. Let's do it. Right.
Hmm. Yeah.
And the day before I left, a friend of mine asked if he could rent my industrial ambulance off me. And I didn't think anything of it. I was just so stoked, ready to go overseas. I gave him the keys to the unit, and he used it for the whole month that I was gone. I came back, and he said, hey, thank you so much. That worked out perfect. We did the job. Everything went perfect. Here's $6,000 for the rental of your industrial ambulance. And he gave me a check. And I was like, well, I mean, that paid for my entire trip to
No
Europe.
kidding.
Like that was it. That covered the
Yeah.
whole trip. And I was doing the Rich Dad course at the time, the Rich Dad Poor Dad course. And my coach asked me, he said, well, why don't you make that your business? Right? Why don't, like, that seemed passive. Like
Right.
that's along the lines of what we teach. Like, why don't you make that your business? And I said, okay, I'm going to give it a try. And this is the first time in my life that I became serious about this thing that I like doing. Bu- Just breaking stuff, going outside of the box, not being
Mhm.
an employee, just like, let's start something. And so I put up a website and I bought, I rented it out to somebody else. Awesome. Okay. Can we buy another one and rent it out? Yes. Okay. Can we buy 2 more and rent them out? Yes. We buy 4 more, 8 more, 10 more. And eventually, I'm making now more income than I could ever as a employed paramedic. And when I was 25 at that point, I called the licensing board, the paramedic licensing board, and I mailed them back my license. And I said, I'm no longer a paramedic. And so that was the start of my journey. Sorry, a very long-winded answer to maybe a simple question, but that is the start of my entrepreneur journey, and where it all went. So, yeah.
That is so interesting, and it feels like you're like the similar idea of, like, trying to break things or change things, like, playing, still within the same industry, but in a very different way.
Hmm.
And I feel like even like you started with being a paramedic and then going to being like a rental company. Those are, I mean, similar industries and similar people who would potentially be, using it would be in the same field that you were in. But there's a lot of, I feel like, knowledge there that you would, it's very different. So, what did kind of like the learning curve look like, or taking on, this pivot, and how did, what are lessons learned? And
Yeah. So there's one thing that you learn in business, in that business skills are different than, like, professional skills, right?
Mhm.
And so I was pretty fortunate. So I already had a professional skill. So that was paramedic. So I knew a field of expertise very well, right?
Yeah.
So paramedicine, how it works, where liabilities land, what's the standard, how the system works,
Right.
where things go. So I already had that context, so that set me up to become an expert in my field, right?
Mhm.
So when someone comes and rents an industrial ambulance from me, we call them mobile treatment centers in the industry. The MTC is like the government name that they've kind of associated with them. So
Okay.
um, when you know everything about MTCs and you know everything about paramedicine, um, then you just lack the business skills. And it turns out, there was a book I read, and one of my favorite quotes is, the best way to learn business is to be in business, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you can read all the books under the sun, but until you get sued or you have to sue somebody, like, boy, like that hits your emotions, and you better like, you know, things go out the window. How are you going to react to this, right? So,
Right.
um, so the best thing I ever did was just starting the business and then just learning as I went. And next thing you know, then the skills you need to be a business owner are very, you have to be like an expert generalist, right? You
Okay.
have to be really, you need to know a little about a lot,
Mhm.
I find. So you need to know a little bit of accounting, a little bit of legal, a little bit of, insurance, a little bit of, um, you know, product and marketing, a little bit of sales, you need to know a little bit about almost everything.
Uh-huh.
And then you can go and start delegating and all these type of things and building systems. So, um, for me, it took, I would say, a solid 5 years of learning business by being in business to feel actually confident in myself that I actually own a business and that it makes money, right?
Okay.
Like, I was making money in the first, like, couple of years, and I was like,
Immediately,
"What
it
is
sounds
the what
like.
am I doing?" Like, I still have no, like, am I doing it right? Like, am I supposed to pay for marketing? Am I not? Like, how much am I supposed to charge? How am I supposed to sell? How am I, like, you just don't know anything, right?
Right.
So, you make a lot of failures and you just fail quick. And, yeah, so, I was fortunate to have a skill set that doesn't change. And
Mhm.
so I can sell myself on that, and
Mhm.
I can be a industry leader. And then I get to spend 5 years failing and learning how to run a business. And
Right.
then that
Mhm.
was the learning curve that took me to the next level. So, yeah.
I love that.
That's really cool. And taking those lessons, those, as you say, sometimes we do look at them as failures, but as long as you're able to learn from each one of those, I feel like is invaluable for business and for life itself, growing, adapting, being able to pivot. And also being able or being open to always learning and stuff. One thing that we're learning from meeting all these other entrepreneurs out there and business owners is that everyone has this constant desire to learn and be open to learning. You've mentioned books and reading and stuff, and I think that that's a valuable point to touch on. That like you can't have a closed mind. You have to, like you said, be a jack of all trades and a master of none of them. Just be able to pick up a manual and be able to do something, follow something, learn something real quick because you have to do it. You have to be able to rely on yourself, especially when you're starting off on these and stuff. So, along the way, have you had help? Have you had, like, has your spouse been part of the business or anything, or are you truly doing this on your own?
Yeah, great question. I've been doing this on my own. So, well, okay, I'll take a step back. I did start the business with a business partner. And so I'll tell you a quick story of how I had a dispute and broke away from my first business partner
Okay.
Yeah,
before
and
anything
yeah, an
even started, right?
organization. Yeah.
It's just
Wow.
one of these stories where, like, oh man. So it's about a year before we start the ambulance rental business, and a friend of mine wanted to start a medic business. So, like, contracting ourselves to medic companies. This is how we ended up with our first industrial ambulance, right?
Okay.
A friend of mine said, "Hey, let's buy one together and
Mm.
let's go into business together." And it was another paramedic, and I graduated from high school with him, and he was one of my best friends, a great friend. And the funny part was we were the exact same person. Uh, we had no skills that each, like, we had the exact same skill set. And when you go into business with a business partner, if you have the exact same skill set, it at least it didn't work for us because we both knew paramedic stuff. We both didn't know anything else. And so, like, when it came to finding a customer, we were both like, we didn't know sales. We didn't have connections. Like, there was basically no reason to be in business together other than it was scary to go into business alone, right?
Okay.
Mhm.
So we went into business together 50-50, which is also tough. And in about a year, I came up with this business rental idea or this MTC rental idea. rented out a unit, and I just said, listen, this is not a 2-person business. This is just a 1-person business. When we're the same person, and we're just not, and I didn't feel like he was putting in as much effort as I was. So it
Mhm.
was just like this, like, you can't do anything I can't. We're not getting anywhere, and I'm we're we're basically married because we're in a partnership, a general partnership. So we're not even incorporated. So we're
Oh.
like married legally. Like it was like horrific, right? So luckily we had a shotgun clause, and I read somewhere that the best way to do a shotgun is to just write them the check and give it to them without them knowing. So I literally just wrote a piece of paper saying, like, I'm executing our shotgun, and like, here's a check. Either take it or leave it. Either you're getting paid this, or you're ripping it up and giving me a check for the exact same amount, right?
Okay.
And it was a small amount. It was only $20,000, but $20,000 when you're like 21, 22 years old is like pretty much all my money. So
Mhm.
I was like, pretty tough decision, but I did the shotgun because I wanted to save our friendship. I thought our friendship was worth saving over a business dispute. And I didn't need to give him $20,000, or we could have literally just like sold the one thing we had, divided it by 2, and we'd be on our way, right? So but I did the shotgun, and he was very offended by it, and he decided to take the money. And in the end, I paid him $20,000, and we didn't stay friends, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and you know, nobody's going to teach you that in a business book, right?
Absolutely
Like
not. Yeah.
interpersonal relationships between business partners and how skewed they can get, and yeah, so I thought that maybe I needed a partner. I didn't. I've been a solopreneur ever since, and that's the only way I operate, and I love it.
Okay.
I you know, I don't think I could have many business partners. I like operating solo. I'm quite comfortable with it now, and
Mhm.
yeah, it's business partners are tough, so select them wisely, and have a good clause in case things go bad. So
Yeah,
yeah,
which is
Yeah.
important, like, to have paperwork and contracts and to be okay with that and have that discussion, you know?
no,
You
Yeah, and I
have
think it's good that you guys had that because I feel like a lot of people go into things, and especially like early, like I feel like that's part of, the learning is like, what do I need in my agreements and, how do I operate within that bound? So, like, how did you put together your agreements and like, where did that kind of come from?
a lawyer. Yep. This
Okay.
one thing we did right, I think, was we did a partnership agreement with a lawyer.
okay.
Very
And I feel like it cost us $1,000, and it made things a lot cleaner. So I've learned that professionals help will save you more money than doing things on your own sometimes, right?
Mhm.
Um, so our partnership agreement was done with by a lawyer, and it was easy to execute, easy to follow, and there was no lawyers involved in the execution of it because it was so clear as day, right? Like he gave me the I'll take that back, because at the time we did have it now a corporation, and when I did the buyout, and so when I bought him out, we did go back to the lawyer and say, okay, I'm purchasing the rest of his shares, update our schedule, right?
Oh,
And
okay.
so, okay, sure. But like there was no back and forth between lawyers, talk to my lawyer. It was like, no, no, no. This is clear as day, pre-written, so easy to execute on. Um, so yeah, having really good counsel at the beginning of a business is really important, and using a lawyer to go to set up those agreements while you're still friends is
Mhm.
definitely very, very important. And even then, like I've even tried to start a corporation through like these online, like create a corp for $29 and we'll send you, like, I did that. I got sent it, and it's like an empty binder with a certificate. It's like the corporation doesn't even exist. There's no shareholders. There's no articles. There's no shareholder distribution. It's like you all you guys did was like register with the government that an entity may exist, but like none of the footwork is done, right? So it's like those didn't help me. I mean, now we have ChatGPT and like all these wonderful tools, so it might be a bit different. But
Yeah.
like, man, like shortcutting things can be way more costly. So yeah, I've always found going to professional save you a ton of money.
That is really good
Good tip.
advice.
Yeah.
That's really smart. And yeah, good of you to have that forethought, especially so young. That's rare
Yeah,
to like.
yeah. So yeah,
Yeah. And
you,
protecting yourself, even going into business, like you said, with a friend, like you knew him, you trusted him and stuff, but being smart and proactive and protecting yourself, I think makes a lot of sense in business. And so the fact that you were prepared with that, I think it's a great tip for anybody who is thinking about business. It's like, do some research. Don't just jump into it, maybe,
yeah.
even if things do just happen to kind of fall, kind of into your lap, so to say, and stuff, kind of things just kind of line up or, right and stuff. It's like still do your due diligence and your research and kind of get things in order.
And people romanticize owning a business, right? So
Mhm.
like when when our partnership split, I continued down the business path. I continued down that path, and then I continued down many other paths. I started up like other businesses, right? And
Mhm.
I kept scratching that itch, and I kept like, this is who I am now. This is what I do. Like, a friend, someone that was working for me. He was like this a mechanic, and he was working for me. And he goes, "What if this fails?" And I was like, "Oh, I'll just go start another business." And he was like, he was like flabbergasted. He's like, what do you like, really? Like that's, and I'm like, yeah, no, like this doesn't work. I'll just do it again somewhere else somehow. Like,
Right.
and he just didn't understand that like that's my mode, right? And
Mhm.
I think that's the entrepreneurial spirit. Like if you feel that in you,
Hmm.
then you should pursue that. Because my ex business partner, that was his last business venture, right? Like
Oh,
he just went back to being a paramedic.
okay.
And 10 years ago, he reached out recently. I mean, maybe like 6 months ago, and just said hi. But like, yeah, he's a paramedic. He's stuck to a job, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? Like I've
Mhm.
been chewing glass and staring to the abyss for 10 years, trying to run this thing, like
That's
y-
great. Yeah.
you know, like you know, like it's really really hard to run a business. Like it's
Right.
really really hard. So like if you're just not, you want to, or if you're not excited to, like
Mhm.
if you need motivation to run your business, like that's you like be careful by getting the fantasy that running a business is great, right?
Right.
Like you like it's not all it's cracked up to be. It's a lot of hard work. So
Yeah.
and I'll share one of my first times, my first experience of staring into the abyss chewing glass. And that was the first time a customer didn't pay me, right?
Oh. Mhm.
And you think, huh? Like, wait, I sent you a bill, you used the service, we had an agreement.
Hmm.
Like and I like all my agreements are as solid as a rock. Like you've signed a rental agreement, you've signed out a checkout form, we've done a damage walk, like we've done inspections. Like there's no question as to what's transpired, how, and he just wasn't going to pay me. And you think, wait, well, what do I do now? Right?
Hmm.
There's no employment board. There's no like government. It's like, no, this is a civil issue between two parties.
Mhm.
So you figure it out, right?
Hmm.
So I was like, hey, I don't know what to do. How do I do this? Let's search the internet. And it's like, okay, you can go to get receivables where people just harass them and call them. And I'm like, that's not going to work. This guy's not going to go to that. He's just not going to like, he's immune to that. Like, I kind of know him a little bit. And then the last resort is like suing someone. And I thought, all right, I will sue him. All right, great. Like, let's do it. Like, okay. Lawyers are expensive, so let's not hire a lawyer. I'm just going to sue him. Fuck it. Okay, let's figure this out. Walk
Yeah.
down to the courthouse. I would like to sue somebody, please. And they're like, okay, here's our small claims documents. Okay, let's fill them in. I don't know. Filling in things. Is it right? I don't know. Who cares? Like, you're just like, what the hell have I ended up with? Okay,
Right.
you go to the courthouse. You have to, okay, great. Now you have to serve them. How do I serve them? I don't know. They have to not be avoiding you. Well, they're kind of avoiding me because they don't have a bill. Okay, so I ended up mailing them a box of chocolates as a thank you, but the served document attached to it, and because he signed for it, it worked. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
he wasn't expecting a registered mail, or it wasn't. It ended up. I think they've changed the loophole a bit. You can't send packages. But anyway, the point is, I
Yeah,
sent a
check it.
package, and I ended up serving them that way because it didn't look like a letter to be sued, right?
Right.
Right.
So I got him. Okay, great. I've great. And it's like, okay, let's go to mediation. Okay, so we meet in mediation, and just before we walk in, he looks at we met outside the courthouse, and he looks at me. He goes, "Let's not walk in there." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Listen, kid," because I'm like 21, 22. He's in his 50s. There's more to life than just business, right? Reputation and all these things matter. And he's giving me this whole rundown about this is not the direction you want to go. And I was like, and this is one of these moments where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, and you sound like you're fucking lying. So I'm going to walk in there and sue the fuck out of you. And if you don't come in, I win, right? And he was just like, and I'm like, bye. Like, I just like walked in. I was like, I don't know. I have nothing to lose. I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
whatever. Like, I'm trying to get manipulated in real time here, right? So,
Right.
like, no one teaches. I didn't ever got taught this, right? Like, so you go in. Turns out mediation. Yeah, bulletproof contract. Whatever. You have this many days to pay me. Still doesn't pay me. I go to the courthouse. Great. Stand in front of the judge. I'm expecting now. I'm representing myself in front of a judge. Get called up, and I'm nervous. I'm like, holy shit, I don't have a lawyer here. I'm just like, whatever.
Right.
And he just goes, is the other party here? I said, no. He goes, a judgment granted. Click. I was like, oh, like that was it. Just
You're like,
the other party didn't show up. So you win. And I was like, next. And I was like, wow, okay. There's a lot of things I still don't know. Okay, cool. I won. Yes, I'm feeling great. I go talk to a lawyer just as a friend. I said, I won judgment. He goes, great. I said, nah, how do I get the money out of him? Do I go through the government? He's like, well, does he have money? No. Well, how do you get blood from a stone? And I was like, and I didn't even understand that. I was like, blood from a stone. Like, I've never even heard the term. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, you fucking idiot. You can't. Like, the guy has no money. Like, you can't collect on him. You don't know where his assets are. You can't collect on him. He has nothing. Like, you're out. And I'm like, wait a minute. I did all this, and I still ended up with nothing. Right. And I was like, so I won judgment. I go out through the courthouse, like, but now I have to go garnish his wages through talking to the banks where I think I was like, oh, I'm understanding how the real world works now, right?
Yeah.
And you don't know that until you go through it and
Sure.
you live it. And then next thing you know, it's like, oh, I'm going to take receivables very seriously in my business from now on, right? I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to credit check them. I'm going to ask for deposits. I'm going to be way more proactive. And because of that, statistically, businesses are something like 5 to 8% bad debts from bad receivables at the end of a year. It's kind of like some industries are different. And I was able to go 5-6 years without a single bad debt. And I collect on, I didn't miss a single, and I had to sue multiple companies, like maybe not multiple. I think I've done 4 lawsuits in about 10 years. I've won every single one. I've collected on the 3. The first one is the only one I didn't collect. But what happens is it now sharpens your skill set to go, I want to fix this problem before it becomes a problem because I
Mhm.
know where it ends up. And
Right.
that you only get that drilled into your brain when you have experience, when you've actually done it, right? So like
Right.
if you're not in business, you can't talk a big game yet. Like you just got to get in there. Like if you're just thinking about starting a business, you need to stop thinking. You need to just do it and fail, or do it and learn.
Mhm.
And if you're not excited to start another one or continue on, don't be in business. But if you are and that excites you, the freedom you get from being an entrepreneur and running a business can be, it will change your life, the type of freedom you get. So,
Mhm. Right.
I encourage anyone listening, like if you are even inclined at all, just give it a try. Um, and, and, and just know it'll be tough, but it could be, it'll be worth it if you can do it.
No, that's great advice.
So great. Yeah. So much.
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you got to be all right with being uncomfortable and being all right with failure and failing, and then learning from those and getting yourself back up and being like, all right, well, that didn't work. Let's see what does work. Because
Mm.
it's that mindset, like you said, when the mechanic was like, what would you do if this failed? You're like, you just start another business. It's like, well, what would he do if this failed? He would have to go get another job, right? Like it's that
Right.
same kind of thing where like your mentality is here, bro, and I'm just here at a different level where I would just start another business, take the motto, take the um, systems that you have in place and just transfer that into another industry,
Yeah.
right?
I think that's such a good point too. I feel like so many people look at conventional, traditional jobs as so safe and secure. But I think, they're just as volatile, if not more, than, entrepreneurship. I mean, look at the job rates this year. So I feel like we always use that socially as like an excuse for kind of staying in those kind of traditional roles. But I mean, we see it's not really that secure. So I love
Mm,
that.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, no, I would say that as you start your business, I mean, I wish I had like ChatGPT when I started my business, right?
Right.
Like, oh my God, like learning Google Ads and then learning like law and then learning sales. Like, you boy, it would have been nice if I had just this almighty machine to tell me. So like it's just never been
Hmm.
easier, right?
Right.
And don't be afraid to learn. Like, I'll give you another story of something that I'm willing to stomach to go learn in order to learn the skill. And so um I was about a year and a half into running my business, my industrial ambulance rental business. I had about 5 units, each of those making 5 to 6 thousand a month. So if you can imagine, making like $25,000 to $30,000 a month, which is great for a 25-year-old, right? Like
Mhm.
that's wonderful. Like things are happening. I could just spend all my time partying if I want, right? Um, or not learning or any of this stuff.
Mhm.
And so a decision I made was I wanted to learn sales. Because I read in the Rich Dad Poor Dad book that the skill you need to learn, if you need to learn a skill, the number one skill is sales. And I thought, okay, because without top line, you got no bottom line, right? Without
Mhm.
sales, you have no business. Without revenue, it doesn't matter how much you can cut expenses. It doesn't matter how great your business model is. If you don't have any sales, you don't have a business, right?
Hmm.
And so I said, okay, I'm going to get a job as a salesperson. And so I thought about it and I said, what is going to have the greatest training for sales that is relative to my industry? And so it's going to be something to do with vehicles. And so what is kind of the number one vehicle sales pro, like who could teach me how to sell the fastest in the automotive industry? Well, it's probably Ford. So I went to the nearest Ford dealership and I applied to be a salesperson
Hmm.
for Ford, and they hired me on in their used department. So now I'm a used car salesman at a Ford dealership, right?
Right.
I make more money not working there than I did working there,
Right.
right? It was like a step back in the case, and a couple of my friends were like, "Man, you went from being a paramedic to a used car salesman. Like that is a weird pivot, right?"
Yes.
Hmm.
It, but to me, it was so clear. Like Ford is going to teach me how to sell a car fast. They're going to have a structured training program.
Hmm.
They're gonna teach me. I get to test a lot of these new skills on people that I don't know and I don't care about because I'm selling used cars. I don't need to, right? So like,
Hmm.
Yeah.
let's just let's practice, right? And I worked there for 6 months. I did 6 months being a used car salesman, and on month number 4, I was number 1 in the department. And
Wow.
it was because I wanted. Now there were 2 reasons why, and I don't mean to brag about this, but one was I was very eager to learn sales, whereas other people it was a job.
Right.
So
Mhm.
so off the hop, my motivation is just higher. And
Mhm.
in sales, motivation matters a lot, right?
Right.
But the second one was, and this is what my finance manager told me. He said, one of the reasons you're selling so well is because you don't care about the loss of the sale because it doesn't matter to you. And
Yeah.
so you start like, and people can read that, right? When you get like if you meet a salesperson that's desperate, it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like you get like, this
Scary.
feels
Yeah.
wrong. You're being sketchy. Like
Right.
I'm backing out. Like, when you meet, it's just like anything. You meet someone at the bar who's attracted to you and they're getting all creepy and you're like, yo, 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 like this is not, or you go to this salesman and they're just desperate for you to buy because they need this so bad. It's like, it just feels bad from a customer's perspective.
Yeah.
Whereas I was already making 25,000 a month in a business. So I would just be like, you don't want it? Well, that's your loss. Like I would just like, no, you want the car? Sign here. Like, no, like
Yeah.
sign here. Like just don't even think about it. Just sign. And my favorite one was I was like a hard salesperson, and if a guy wanted to buy a big truck and it was too expensive, I would just say, yeah, it's a bit too much truck for you, isn't it? And just
I don't
what,
like that.
and no, and now he's just trying to prove me wrong by buying it, right? And it's just like, right, so like I was willing to just go there and ended up working out great. So um but the moral of the story though is like I took a step back and I had some humility to go and learn this skill.
Mhm.
And again, it was really tough. And in about 6 months, in many things when you learn, you have a 6 month like learning curve, right? So once you
Mhm.
get to about 6 months selling used cars, you kind of your learning curve has really started to taper off, right?
Mhm.
There's only so many tricks, there's only so many conversations. Now it just becomes a game of volume, right? So I've reached a good portion of the learning in the learning curve at about 6 months, and then I
Okay.
handed in my resignation and left. And to this day, that has single-handedly made me more money in my business than any other skill, like by
Okay.
far, right? Being able to sell, being able to show up, offer a good service, and handle objections and
Mhm.
ask for the sale. Like, don't pussyfoot around. Like
Mhm.
you want this, you should buy it. I will give it to you. You should buy now. Like being
Uh-huh.
able to do that in an elegant way all the time is very important. And people hate sales because they think it's really slimy, but it's a skill you need to learn. And
Mhm.
if you're selling something you're passionate about, then it won't feel bad. But
Right.
um take a step back, learn the skill, get hired by somebody, take a pay cut, learn it, and move on because it'll benefit you. So that's kind of a story of humility and just what you need to do as an entrepreneur to get ahead.
Right. Be
Yeah,
willing
that's
to do whatever it takes, right? Have
mhm.
to.
Yeah,
Yep.
sales is so important, and I think that's a really creative way to go about learning it. Because again, like, you could read a bunch of books on sales, but you went out and, actually were learning and being trained in sales, so I think that's
Mhm.
really smart approach.
Yeah, it's like you said, you can't learn the business unless you're in the business, unless you're
Mhm.
actually actively doing sales and stuff. You have to get your hands dirty, get your feet wet, and get in the trenches with everyone else and see what's going on. See if you can hang or not. It's not for everyone.
Yeah, just start the thing. I love
Yeah,
that.
that's awesome. You always got to be willing to do that.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has been so great.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, great. Is there any like, you know, I could share a little bit a last little story if you'd like.
Yeah.
Um, and that's about the idea of focus. And so, again, in the I'm a super big fan of Rich Dad Poor Dad and
Mhm,
Robert Kiyosaki. Now, funny enough, I feel like after about 3 to 4 years of reading his material, um, I kind of learned again that learning curve. Like I learned as much as I could learn from Robert
Hmm.
because it's very conceptual and it's very high level. But when you get into deeper technical niches or avenues, you need to find new mentors and new content, right?
mhm,
So it's been actually years, probably like 8 years since I've like really read or re-listened to any of that content, even though it was so life-changing. It's just
mhm.
so funny how it came at the right time. It taught me everything I need to know, and then I've moved on, right?
Right.
Hmm.
And it's okay to move on from learning, right? But one of the things that he mentioned was focus. And that's like follow one course until successful is focus. And the idea is don't start 3 businesses and give 1/3 attention to each business, right? Start one business and give 100% of your attention to it until it's successful before you start anything else.
Mm,
And this was this this has happened. This went well for me because when I started my business, MTC Rentals, I 100% dedicated myself to that business.
mhm,
And I tried to say, it was so hard to say no to other things. And so what ended up happening was I started a journal, and this was the journal of business ideas I'm not allowed to execute.
That's a
And
great
what
idea.
it is a journal where anytime I have a business idea, I have to write it down. And as soon as I save the document, at the top of the document, it says, these are all the business ideas you're not allowed to execute. Right. And it's such a it's such a difficult document because I have like I'll wake up in the middle of the night and be like, this is genius. Like, oh my God. Like, wait. It makes sense.
Mhm.
People need it. Oh my God. Like I should start this tomorrow. I should start working on this now. And then I go and write it down. And then I click save and I think, damn it, I'm not allowed to do this. And then like a week goes by. Oh, I got another bright idea. Okay. And then I write it down. I think, okay, I'm not allowed to do this. And I kept doing that and I kept doing that and I kept doing that. I did that for like 5 years. And then my business actually became successful enough that now we're doing, maybe 100,000 a month. And I have a couple of employees. And all of a sudden, I actually have free time. Like I was like, it took me 5 years before I
Mhm.
was like, wait a minute. I've actually created a system where I have some free time now.
Uh-huh.
And but you won't get I've found that people won't get there because they're just too scattered. And
Yes.
so it took me 5 years and finally I had the free time to maybe start a second business. And I went through my list of all the ideas I've had for the last 5 years and they were mostly shit. Like I just couldn't believe I thought these were good ideas, right? Like I still have it and I'm just like,
Mm,
oh, what was I thinking? Like, that's a bad idea. And I think I had like 20 or 30 like ideas I thought were executable, like
Right.
super executable. And they were almost all bad, right? Maybe there was one or two in there that I was like, okay, maybe that would have worked. Um,
Mhm.
you know, um, whatever. But the amount of time I saved by not executing on random things that aren't aligned exactly with the business that I am working on has saved me so much pain because you have to focus. You have to follow one course. And finally, after 5 years, I was able to start a second business, and I thought about that one deep and hard, and finally it got up running, and it's running too. And now I'm focused on that. So I have the same. So now I'm continuing the same damn book. Where now I'm like, oh, I got to do this for another 5 years of 5 years of bad ideas. I think they're good, and I write them down, and they're bad, and like, so it's just like this recurring theme in my life of like, I want to keep starting new things, but you
Mhm.
have to focus. So, this will be the 10th year that I've had this book going, and maybe, just maybe, I have a free time now to start another business. But now I have 2 kids. I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old and
Mhm.
a wife, and we're going to New Zealand next month, and it's like, okay, no, 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 no. Like 2 businesses is already too much. Like it's like,
Yeah,
it's
that's
out of the 80 ideas I've had, 2 of them ended up being plenty success, a great amount and plenty enough of success to scratch my itch, be proud, and have the freedom I want. You
Mhm.
don't need 6 successful businesses. You need 1, right? You need
Right.
1, and then if it's successful, get another one. But yeah, I would just say, again, that idea of follow one course until successful has proven to be one of my greatest disciplines that's positively affected me in my entrepreneur journey.
Yeah, that is great advice. Because it is hard to focus sometimes because you do feel like you have these great ideas and you're able to be, oh, I can start this too at the same time. This is going and that is going. And then you find yourself spread so thin that you come back and you're like, oh shit, I didn't do what I was supposed to be doing for this main business.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and however you need to do to cope with that, you do that.
Yeah.
But for me, it was just writing down in a book of business ideas I'm not allowed to do, and I hate it. So I hate the book so much, and it's still sitting in my OneDrive, and I update it every time I get an idea. So yeah,
it's a great idea too to write them down and
Yeah.
then give yourself the time to also circle back when you're, looking at it with fresh perspective. So you're kind of like evaluating your own ideas and not necessarily, needing the inputs of others or ChatGPT or any
Yeah.
of that stuff.
Right.
But giving it a little space, giving it a little breath and coming back and saying, okay, now that we can actually do stuff, so I think that's a
yes, ChatGPT will tell you to start a business in like 3 seconds. So.
yes, you're a genius. Yeah.
Yes.
I think it is a South Park episode, like, oh, you're a genius. You want me to write a business plan for you? And you're like, oh no, like this is
And it will,
no,
it will.
yeah,
Right.
and it will. Oh, it'll write an exceptional business plan. It'll
Yeah, there
write
might be a lot
10.
of emoji bullet points, but you'll get it. You'll get it.
Yeah, yeah. I need more crosshair bullet points and check marks and X's and yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Little
So
sparkle ones.
let's throw some
So,
tables in there, some
yep, legit.
projections. Yeah, I'll whip them up for you. So, yeah, it's like the most power. It's probably like the most powerful and distracting tool at the same time, right?
Mhm.
So you got to be careful. But yeah, yeah. No, I was,
Yeah, definitely be careful with
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, anyway, yeah. So that's basically my story as of today. You know, I I live a wonderful life. I get to work when I want to work. I get to live by rules. Like health is number 1, relationships are number 2, and wealth is number 3. I put things in that order. I've always found that to be a successful formula. Um, but with entrepreneurship, it's like do it, focus, execute, learn from your mistakes, move quick, and you too can live with freedom. And when you get the freedom, boy, it tastes amazing when you can achieve it yourself. So yeah, it's been really good to me in my life, in my family. So yeah.
That is very cool. Congratulations to all the success.
Yes. Yeah, and thank you for joining us. Do you want to let everyone know where they can find you online?
Yeah.
Sure. I don't have much of a social presence myself. I'm like Dion underscore Siluch, I think on like Instagram. Or is it? Yeah. And then I don't know, Facebook, if you want to harass me there. This is kind of just my two platforms. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't have anything to sell. I don't have anyone to follow for any reason. I just like the game of entrepreneurship and
Yeah.
and what it gives you, um, if you're willing to pursue it and chew glass, stare into the abyss, and learn from your mistakes. So I just encourage anyone to give it a go, focus, and maybe you too will achieve your dreams. So, yeah.
It's been great talking with you, and hopefully we can get back with you sometime and hear about your other business and see what that's going on.
Yeah, sounds good. It'll be very exciting.
Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you for the time today, Dia. It's been
Yeah.
great.
Thanks for having me on. Cheers.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.